This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. Joining me on Stockbox today is Brendan Cahill, the President and CEO of Excellon Resources, a company listed on both the TSX and the New York Stock Exchange with the ticker EXN. Welcome, Brendan. How are you?
Hi, Mark. I'm very good. Good to be here.
Yes, it's good to be talking to you. It's the first time we have spoken, and I was just looking on your website there, and I noticed you actually have a number of different projects, but they're all at different stages, which you set out quite nicely there on the website. So I wonder if we can maybe start, if you can take us through a high-level overview of the projects and what they're all about.
Sure. So you're right. I mean, Excellon kind of has a complete growth pipeline. We have silver production, gold development and resource growth, and also high-grade silver exploration, looking for high-grade silver discoveries. So that starts with the Platosa mine, which was the company's key asset, for a very long time. We've been in Mexico since the mid-90s. We made the discovery of the Platosa mine in 1999, brought it to production in 2005. It's been Mexico's highest grade producer since, but it's an incredible deposit. We produce it a kilo per ton silver equivalent, but it's pretty small. It does 2 to 2.5 million silver equivalent ounces a year. But it's a great kind of engine for growth. Lots of exploration there. It's a very exciting exploration play, though, an interesting kind of tricky geology. But when we looked at the metals market in the spring of 2019 and saw gold prices going through 1375, 1400, those really key technical barriers that it had been struggling to break for years, we realized that the gold market was fully back on. So we started looking at a number of assets in the Western US, really focused on a gold development asset that we could grow, make much bigger, and participate in a rising bull market in precious metals. That led to our acquisition of Otis Gold in April of last year, primarily for the Kilgore Gold Project in eastern Idaho. And that's a project, 1 million ounces at 0.5 gram, that has, at $1,800 gold, a $300 million NPV. We bought Otis for $22 million Canadian in shares at a time when gold was about $1,450, just before the craziness of last year began. But we see this growing into a 3 to 5 million ounce deposit with smart, intelligent, focused, and careful exploration. And that growth, focus and exploration focus feeds into the third key asset that we can talk about today, is our Silver City asset in Saxony, Germany, an area that was mined for 800 years, and mining only stopped for high-grade silver when Germany moved off the silver standard in 1873. Went to the gold standard. This was a major monetary event globally. The gold-silver ratio broke down, silver prices plummeted, and then history took over from there. So we're the first ones ever to conduct modern-day exploration on this incredibly legendary high-grade silver district. We already have high-grade discoveries in only the first drill holes, and this year is going to be a pretty transformative period of exploration on that project too.
Okay. And this idea of having different projects at production, resource growth, and discovery stage, was that by design or just how happened?
Definitely by design. We wanted to get into the gold space, and partially that's, during a bear market, silver is, people would say it would be gold on steroids, right? And when the race is not on, silver really lags behind. So, for the long term investment, silver is a tricky thing to base a company on. So getting into gold is that kind of fundamental, horse that drives an investment over the long term. We thought was a good idea. And there was also just great value in gold coming out of that last bear market. Buying Otis for less than $20 an ounce in the ground. And there were a number of projects that we could do that with. So we just saw tremendous value in making that trade. And then, everything we look for that growth opportunity, right? And the greatest returns in this industry, in this space, are made from discoveries. And what the industry most needs now is new discoveries, new great discoveries. So we always leave ourselves open for that opportunity. And I think with both Kilgore and Silver City, both of these have tremendous exploration and discovery potential.
Okay. And I just want to pick up on something you mentioned just earlier. It was the NPV of a particular project, but it slips my mind what it was you were referring to.
Yeah, so our Kilgore project in
Kilgore.
eastern Idaho. Yeah, so there's a PEA out on that. It was published in August 2019 by Otis Gold, so before the acquisition. And 81 million in capex gets you 110,000 ounces a year over 5 years of mine life. So translating that into an $1,800 gold price, then you're looking at a $300 million NPV on the project, and again bought for only $22 million Canadian in stock.
Yeah, okay, so a very good deal you've got there. But then just looking at your market cap as well, just taking that project alone, you could say that you're undervalued at this stage.
Yeah, I think so for sure. And I mean that is one of the stories with Excellon. If you look at where we were in 2019 versus where we are now, we came into 2020 with 14 million silver equivalent ounces on the books. We were trading at about 0.6 silver equivalent ounces per share. Through the acquisition of Otis, we also published an internal resource, not an internal resource, but a resource on our Evolution project of about 80 to 100 million silver equivalent ounces, depending on base metal prices. We left 2020 with 170 million silver equivalent ounces on the books and 5.3 silver equivalent ounces per share. During that period, our stock price barely moved. We definitely haven't seen some of the returns some of our peers had. So I think right now we're trading solely on Platosa, like we always have been. But I think 2021 is the year where we start to unlock some of the value, continue the exploration and discovery process at Silver City, start drilling at Kilgore in Q3 of this year, continuing exploration at Platosa, which is very exciting. And then our Oakley project, which came along with the Otis deal in southern Idaho, we're going to be drilling there in a couple of weeks as well. So, if 2020 for everybody was kind of a reset, an opportunity to build strong foundations and survive, 2021 is about looking forward and really growing and discovering the real potential on these assets.
So are you focused on any particular project specifically? Are you doing more intensive work on one project over another?
Yeah, so that's a really interesting part of our story. We've got assets in three countries. I think it's only 3 countries, but Durango and Zacatecas in Mexico, Idaho in the U.S., and then Saxony in Germany. We've got borders, we've got oceans, we've got time zones, but the most important thing we have is teams. We've got a great exploration team in Mexico, which works with both our Idaho and German teams, and we've got great teams in Idaho and Saxony. So we're able to move all of our projects forward at once. And that's people are the most important part in this industry. You got to get the rock. You got to go with the rock first. But if you don't have the people, the rock just sits there and is never realized. So we've put together excellent teams that, especially in this period of the pandemic, where coming from Canada, it's very difficult to move around. Zoom is the great equalizer. It's kind of transports us anywhere we need to go. So these teams basically, develop ideas, pitch them to us. We refine them, perfect them, and then allocate the capital accordingly. So we try to move everything forward at once. And that's also one of the reasons we want to have that growth pipeline and more than one asset, is to do things properly. There's an ebb and flow of work on a project. You drill, you think, you analyze. Maybe you need to raise money. You drill again, right? And if you have multiple assets, you can keep everything moving forward, keep that attention on the company, and keep that shareholder interest involved as well, all while things can move forward at the appropriate pace rather than be rushed, which is often a big disservice to the assets.
Okay. And also, I noticed on your website you have the silver spot price right there in the header. And I wonder, you mentioned before, you said silver is like gold on steroids. And so the question is, I've got kind of a 2-part question. The first one is, are you more excited about the silver credits that you have as opposed to the other commodities in the portfolio? And where do you feel the market is going, in particular with precious metals?
Yeah, so I think right now, stepping back from a macro perspective, we're just going into a period where all metals are going to rise significantly over time, and that's a product of the reflation trade. And there's to go from the macro to the very specific. There's concerns about the virus now. impacting that reflation trade over the near term. But in the midterm, the not too long term, all this money that's being pumped into the economy, so necessary to get out of the hole that we're in. There's going to be a massive demand for metals across the board, and whether that's lead, zinc, gold, silver, every single one is going to draw a huge bid without a lot of supply of these metals. I think that's one of the big stories now as well. You've got constrained supply because of environmental regulations, the inability of companies to find new deposits. You've got increased sustainability measures, which are both going to make metal production more localized, but also make it arguably more difficult. So I think we're just heading for this massive supply crunch in all metals going forward. That is good for everything that we're selling, and copper and nickel and everything else. And then on top of that, you do have this huge amount of money being printed, and simply put, all currencies are under threat right now. And that's why the gold trade, I think, is very good. And the monetary aspect of that gold trade feeds into silver as gold's little sister or little brother, and that is going to be a great part of the silver story going forward as well. But silver also has that industrial aspect. 56% of silver and increasing amounts are used in the industrial trade, which I think, playing into that inflationary environment, silver can also trade on that as well as being one of those sustainability metals. There's no substitute for silver when it comes to solar panels. In high technology, the first thing you start with is silver, and then try to find something cheaper, but often there's no replacement for silver there as well. So when you look at the potential returns on the space over time, all metals are going to go up. Gold's going to trade much higher because of the monetary aspect and currencies under threat. But silver has both of those elements. And even if you look over time, one of the stories going around now, in 1980, silver was $50. Right now it's 25. In 1980, copper was 98 cents. Now it's 4.30. In 1980, gold was 850. Now it's 1800. So silver is very, very much trailing the entire commodity space, and I think that's why it's primed for extraordinary returns over the coming years.
Okay, that's good to hear. It's good analysis there. And just a final thought then from you. Just going forward and thinking about the company, what can investors or potential investors look forward to in the very near term?
Yeah, so we're a silver producer. So I think as we head into this next period in the market, we have that direct exposure to the silver price. We only have 32 million shares outstanding. So excellent leverage as generalist flows come into the space. And that NYSE listing really gives us that market standing to get, particularly American generalist fund flow, which I think is a key part of our story. And, Platosa generating the cash that we need to pay the expenses and pay for our exploration. And then it's drill. We're drilling with, I think, 4 rigs right now at Platosa, trying to expand the resource, find new deposits on the Platosa property. We're going to start drilling at Oakley in the next couple of weeks in partnership with Centerra Gold, a mid-tier gold producer that's optioning into the project. We're going to be starting drilling at Silver City probably later in May with a very exciting drill program, building on the first drill program ever that saw a number of discoveries in 2020, and then doing the final permitting for our next phase of drilling at Kilgore, which we're aiming to start in the middle of this year. So, working up to a constant news flow of high potential drilling and results, and I think it's going to be a very exciting time. So, we are an explorer that funds all of our exploration from Platosa, from our existing silver mine. Mm-hmm. It's a bit of everything. It's the best of all worlds, I think.
Okay, well, Brendan Cahill there, the President and CEO of Excellon Resources. Thank you very much for telling us there about the company and the projects.
Thanks very much, Mark.
Thank you for listening to this Stockbox interview. For more information, interviews and videos, visit our website at stockboxmedia.com or give us a follow on Twitter by searching @StockboxMedia.